Hey, welcome to shop. I'm Chris. You're watching Show Me Repair, and there goes my left hand again for some weird reason. Why do YouTubers do that? They feel like they have to do that. Anyway, we are in Evan from Country View Acres in his Edge right now, and I'm getting ready to take a test drive to try to show you guys exactly what this is doing. And I've got my laptop all hooked up. You don't see anything yet, but I'm going to be recording that screen, so hopefully I can show you guys when the vibration noise happens on the screen. Plus, I don't know if you guys can see, got a GoPro back there and a mic. I'll show you here shortly where I have an accelerometer. I don't know why I lapsed on that. So I'm going to go out and drive now. I've got a certain part of road near my shop that I can get this thing to do it almost every time. So I'm going to go over it, try to catch it, and then what I'm going to do is I won't be able to have my NVH software running to pick up the vibration, but I'm going to be able to unlock the torque converter and show you what happens at that point. So it was very interesting. I suspected it to be this, but I'm still not positive what it's going to turn into, what kind of repair, but we're getting somewhere, and that's the whole point, is to try to grab as much information. That way we can make a good diagnosis and a good repair. So let's get started. All right, I think I've got everything ready. I've got a mic up here on me. I've got a mic in back next to the GoPro. It's not hooked to the GoPro, it's hooked to this camera, but hopefully it grabs it. I'm gonna start recording here, and my noise vibration harshness software is running. We can see just sitting here idling. Hopefully I can link all this. I'm gonna rev the engine a little bit, and then we're gonna set out. Let's roll the windows up. I've got to take a look at the AC on this as well. Sometimes it blows cold, sometimes it blows hot. Let's get going. Do it. Maybe I got to get it warmed up. Okay, let's see if we can get it to do it. I may have to leave the window down. My dang old camera overheated. I think it's time to start looking for a new one. Hopefully you guys can hear that. Okay, I'll stick it out. Now it did it pretty good. I mean, it rattles stuff in the back of this thing. It's pretty impressive. I'd almost say it's just a stronger version of like the rumble strips you hit on the highway. And I am going to go on the highway now after I get some of this to be quiet. Okay, it did it quite a bit there. I sure hope the mics and cameras pick that up. Okay, let's go hit the highway and we will hit some rumble strips. That way we can compare the noise and the vibration on the vibration analyzer. Okay, I'm on the highway. I'm going to try to, it's doing the torque converter shudder now, which, I mean, that's, now that it's up to temp, it's going to do it. Evan said that. He said once you've driven for about 20 minutes, it just keeps doing it. And that's, I've noticed once the fluid gets up to temperature and the viscosity obviously lowers from the heat. So I'm going to hit some rumble strips if I can find some. Here we are. So we're doing, the screen should actually, the NVH software should tell us probably 53. And it picked it up. It's pretty, I guess we'll see what it comes out to. I've got traffic around me and I'm doing 55 and 65, so they're not happy. But I don't want to go really any faster because I want it to be comparable to the speed when I can get it to the real violent torque converter shudder that I think that is. I'm pretty positive. We're doing 50. People aren't happy. Let's hit some rumble strips. That's good. Hopefully that shows up on camera. Now let's get to unlocking. I'll pull up the software to unlock the torque converter. I really won't be able to show you guys much. Okay, it is unlocked. Okay, we are recording the screen on the laptop. Shut the windows. Sorry. We are still unlocked. That sounds bright. It's been cloudy most of the day. Yeah, you can see it should have done it right about here. I'm doing about 45. Let's speed up a little bit. The speed limit is 50, 55. That rear differential has a little bit of noise, but with 180,000 miles on it, well, 189,000. I'm not surprised, but it's not a bad noise. It's just I've also got some stuff out to get down to the metal so I can use the magnet mount for a camera. It's not done, and I'm traveling the whole road unlocked. Stretch of road that I can normally get it to happen is only about a 2-mile stretch. Right here, it should have just started doing it. If the torque converter was locking up, about 53 here. should have just been rattling like crazy. So I'm pretty confident it's in that. Let me get back to the shop and we'll go over some of the things that we need to check, and then something we can try that's that's not intrusive. So we don't have to dig in far. We can try it, see if it makes a difference before we have to tear into anything. We just got back from driving. This has got the 6F50, 6F55 transmission. The way I know that is the way you check transmission fluid level. The 6F, by the workshop manual, this can even, I'll correct down here, this can either have a 6F50 or 6F55, or the 6F25 or 35. I'll put it down here. But the difference between those two kinds of transmissions, the 6F50 and 55, I couldn't find much difference between the two. Somebody leave down in the comments what the difference between the 6F50 and the 6F55. But the big difference between the 50 and 55 and the 6F35 I'll just use, and I'll put that down below if that's wrong, is the way you check fluid level. And the 50-55 is much easier, and I'm going to show you. I can reach it. Let me see. The way to check it is basically a cap / dipstick. You can see that cap there. Kind of looks like an oil cap. That has got a dipstick attached to it. Okay, now you guys saw on this transmission where the filler cap and dipstick is. I'm now going to start the engine, and that's how you check transmission fluid on almost everything. I always want to pull the dipstick out, clean it, and then put it back in, because as you drive, you get it up to temperature, it's going to splash on it. And this one has a cold and hot range, and then a hash mark between it. And it's falling pretty much right in the middle, a little on the low side, but it's still on the hatch mark, so it's good. Let's see if you guys can see. So we know the fluid level's full. That's something you can truthfully check before you even start test driving one, because low fluid level could cause weird things. But I like to at least verify the concern before I do anything. That way I know exactly what the customer's talking about. Okay, I've got the car up on the rack now. I'm actually going to, I'll show you here in a second. I've got a transmission flush machine that I'm going to see if I can get it hooked up to it. Depending on the adapters, I don't know if I'll be able to. And you can get these machines used, and that's where I got this one. And I've used it on other vehicles, but sometimes just the way the vehicle transmission cooling system works, it will fight you. So what I mean by that is this vehicle especially has a, what do they call it? Ford calls it a transmission fluid thermal bypass valve. Just think of it like a thermostat. So it wants to see a certain temperature before it sends fluid out to the cooler to be cooled. That way the transmission warms up faster, and you can, when they get fluids all up to temperature correctly, you maximize efficiency, and then you can, I think it's more predictable on fuel economy, things like that. And in cold climates, it's really good to get that fluid up to temperature, and it helps out. Anyway, what that can do is it's really hard to bypass that completely with enough adapters to where you can just flush it. And so you usually have to work along with it. And so when you introduce that new fluid to the system, that bypass sometimes wants to shut off until the fluid reaches the right temperature. and so sometimes it'll fight you. And if the machine can't sense that and work right, then it's just a mess. And then you're basically better at just doing a drain and fill, which we have the option to do. It is right there. You can see the 2 lines running into it. I've already taken one of the little plastic covers there off, because this is the one that, if I remember correctly, Ford, whenever I was reading the repair manual for doing a fluid flush, they want you to do the one returning from the cooler, because that way it pushes any junk out of the cooler into the machine and you're feeding new fluid in. And then that's makes sense. They want to get anything out of the cooler. And so a lot of transmissions have these now. They do it just for efficiency. Get that fluid up to temperature. If you do not have a transmission machine, which most people are not going to, on the 6F50, this is the drain for the transmission, and you'll do it with the engine off. You'll drain, if I remember correctly, it's around 4 to 5 quarts. You'll collect it all, you put the drain plug back in, you put in what came out, and I usually then go drive it, get it up to temp again, come back, do another drain and fill it up. And that's roughly, you're at least getting out some old, putting in new, and mixing in more new. Transmission flush is usually the best bet, but that is better than doing nothing at all. Okay, here's the transmission flush machine. It's a Trans-Tech 2. Anybody that's been in the automotive world has probably seen one of these puppies. So I think these adapters will work. Basically, I'll be able to tap in to the cooler bypass or thermal bypass, and then put this on the hose coming from the cooler. That should work. Let's see if I can get it all hooked up and flushing the transmission. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. Yeah. Bummer. That fitting is way too big. Let's see if I got anything else. Okay, I like to toot my own little horn whenever my stage 9 hoarding pays off. I found a cooler line from a Super Duty. The Super Duty quick connect went into this thermal bypass, then attaches to my adapter for the trans flush machine, and then I was able to just basically a rubber hose connect to the quick connect, so we're pushing fluid out of the cooler and new fluid into the thermal bypass into the transmission. So you can see I've got it all hooked up here. I got to put new fluid in here. I'm probably going to start around, what do I got over there? 8 quarts. Probably what we're going to do. Doing something. So this machine is supposed to detect pressure coming from the vehicle or from the transmission, and so it will only pump fluid in when it is receiving fluid back. I ran into an issue on the flush machine, exactly what I was expecting, where basically the machine quit pumping in because the thermal bypass basically shut down or closed because the fluid cooled down going in. So it was not allowing fluid to cycle, and so now the transmission is actually a little over full. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these cooler lines back on. I'm going to drain 4 quarts, well, roughly. I'll get a container, drain, I think I got a gallon jug, drain into the gallon jug, and then I will check the fluid level. It could be 4 quarts over. It's hard to say. It's not puking over, but I'm over on the dipstick. Let's get the fluid right. And basically what the whole reason I'm doing this flush and not going any further is changing out the fluid, from my experience, can fix a transmission shudder. My brother has a 2017 Ford F-150, and he had torque converter shudder, and just changing the fluid got rid of his torque converter shudder. And all we did was, on that transmission, that's a 6R80, 6-speed, 4-wheel drive F-150 with a 5-liter, and we dropped the pan, changed the filter, filled with new fluid, new filter in it. And at first it didn't do anything, but the longer he drove it, it eventually went away. So basically, in a lot of these new vehicles, they're pushing for you to go 100,000 plus on fluid, and we're finding that it's not really a good thing. It's up to you when you want to change that fluid. If you want to wait, and that's fine, you got transmission, no issues, no problem. He tows with his, so he saw it, if I remember correctly, before even 100,000 miles. Didn't tow heavy, but he tows a camper with it. Evan, I'm sure they don't tow with this. He's got a truck, but this thing's got 189,000 miles on it. Well, it's almost 100,000 miles over when I believe Ford would recommend. I'll have to double check, but normally it's around 100,000 miles. So it's overdue, most likely. He did not mention that he did any transmission service along the way. I'm not going to assume he didn't, but I'm not going to assume he did, just from talking to him. We'll probably get some information. Maybe he'll comment on a video. But I'm going to take this off, drain the transmission, put some more new in. Especially if I drain whatever, I'm going to put more in new, and then we'll go out and test drive this thing, see if we get any changes. Because just the way the transmissions work, acting, it's only in the torque converter. Whenever I unlock the torque converter, this thing drives so smooth. Shifts nicely. I mean, it shifts nice other than that, even with the torque converter applying. But you can feel, I can't show it on camera, but the only thing I could get was really the violent, hopefully you guys could hear that. Between shifts, you can feel the torque converter try to apply. You're not try to, but it applies, and it just isn't smooth like it should be. And when I unlock that torque converter, it's like it drives exactly like you'd expect it to drive, where there's no jerkiness, nothing that feels weird. But I don't get any flares at shifts, so I don't suspect anything else is going on in the transmission and any other issues. I suspect it's just in the torque converter. Now, could it be something in the valve body? Yes. But that's why I want to do changing out the fluid first to see if we get any change. Because the last thing I want to do is just go, oh, we need to tear into it, we need to look at this, and you mess with tons of stuff, you spend money, and you don't get anywhere. Where fluid is relatively cheap, labor to do this is relatively cheap. You guys could do this in your driveway. That would help you. So, okay, let's finally get going. Okay, hopefully you guys can see there's a this drain plug earlier. It is a 11 millimeter, what fits. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to drain into a little container here just to see if we have any contaminants. This thing's probably going to be pretty hot. Just from the bottom. Let's try not to make a mess, huh? I just wanted what was based at the bottom. That fluid looks a lot better than it did. So before, the fluid had a real dark brown to it, and this now, with that new fluid in it, has a redder tint to it. But what I was really wanting to see, once we kind of flushed and got stuff mixed up, is, I'll get the camera out here in a little bit, is to see if we see any junk that basically, when you slosh this around, to see if we see any material. Try not to drop the drain plug in the There we are. And roughly 4. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's pretty much in the middle. So we're over full by about 5 quarts, which doesn't hurt it. We didn't go drive it, but we took the time to make sure we have good fluid level. That fluid looks better, so let's go drive it and see what happens. Okay, now it's the next day. I've driven the edge quite a bit, but I'm still feeling it, but I let it cool off, and now we're going to take it for a drive and actually put the NVH software on it and see if we're detecting any shudder, or if it's gotten better at this point, and if it's not any better, or if it's even if it's gotten better but we still feel it. I've got something else I want to try before we go further with diagnosing, and basically update Evan on what I've done for diagnosis, figure out what system we're in. I still don't believe it's in the rear end. I believe it's in the torque converter, and that vibration is transferring back to the rear. So once we get done this, we'll try one more thing, and then we'll update Evan on what we have and see at this point if he wants to go, if this doesn't take care of it, see if he wants to go any further. Okay, let's go take a drive. Here we go. Getting on the road. I'm still feeling it. It's definitely didn't get aggressive like it normally does. We'll see this next hill. Usually if it doesn't do it back there, it usually does it up here. Definitely still there, but it does not seem as violent as it did before, and I'll be able to show you guys that on the screen recording. So we're hopefully making some progress. I think what I have now that we'll try may take care of that. You might be able to guess what I'm talking about. I want to wait, kind of suspense thing for you guys. But yeah, there it goes. But it's not as violent. Okay, what we're going to try now is this Lube Guard. I picked this up at O'Reilly's. It's supposed to help with shudder. I've truthfully never used it before. Easy to use, works with conventional and synthetic ATF, concentrated friction modifier. The back says, do you feel a shudder, chatter, vibration when shifting gears? Does your shifting seem hard or rough? Lube Guard Instant Shudder Fix is a concentrated friction modifier designed to instantly eliminate transmission torque converter shudder. It increases lubrication and eliminates objectionable shifting issues. Directions for use: simply add Instant Shudder Fix to your transmission via transmission dipstick. Do not overfill. Well, we know that we're in the hatch mark area this little bit. This is 2 ounces. I don't believe this is going to put us over. it says here on the other side, it says, great diagnostic tool to help determine if your shudder is fluid related or a mechanical issue. So I think in that case, if this doesn't change anything, then yeah, we've got internal failure of the torque converter and or the valve body. It's one of those things where if we're gonna go that far into the transmission, we can pull the valve body off and inspect it if we find anything wrong with the torque converter circuit, what they call. It's basically the passages and like the gasket, the valve in the valve body, or the solenoid that controls it. If we find any issues there, yeah, we can fix that and then see how it goes. But at this point, if it had issues with the valve body on and we get that fixed, the damage may be done with the torque converter and we may still need to replace it. So let's put this in and see what happens. It says here to, oh, I saw somewhere. Please note that in severe cases, it can take up to 25 miles to see full results. So what I will do is I'll record when I get back in the car how many miles are on it, and we will put at least 25 miles on it because that's what they advertise. I guess I need to get a towel, clean up after this. Okay, I've driven I reset the trip. I've driven 28.5 miles. I've probably driven a little over that since in diagnosis, but since the transmission service, I've driven 28 miles. So let's go try to put at least 10 miles on it right now, just see what that Lube Guard does. Okay, the craziest thing I just experienced. I'm not a additive kind of guy, really. I just, something has a problem, I find the problem that's causing it, I repair or replace it. I just drove this edge from my shop where I added that additive the couple miles up to the gas station on the road that I can get it to happen on. And we just drove it and got it to act up. And I didn't feel it one bit. And that's 2 miles. And I have like maybe an 1/8 mile of gravel road that I drive on before I get to the blacktop. That's crazy. Well, let's put some more miles on it and see what it does. Okay, just got done driving. Oh, what would that be? About 18. So we were at like 28. Now we're at 46. Sorry, it's a little dark. I got the dome light on to help with that. I have to try to basically film and work whenever I can. I watch my son when my wife is working. So the days that I get to work, I tend to work from in the morning. Try not to get started too early, but start by 7, 8 o'clock, and I work now until dark, doing whether it's just repairing somebody's car or filming stuff. A lot of times you guys don't even tell because I'm in the shop. I've got the NVH software going. I've got the camera in the back. I got the mics on, and this. Let's go drive that about 2 mile part of road that I can usually get it to act up. But man, this thing is driving night and day difference. I mean, the fluid service, changing out the fluid, definitely calmed it down, but it was still there. Just adding this stuff is pretty crazy. So, the camera may have some trouble. I am going to film the whole time, so may be kind of boring for you guys, but I want to put this right up next with it, run about, so I can match up my NVH. I'm running about 43. We're going to higher because the speed limit's 55. There's times when I think that I feel it, but then it goes away. And the one thing that kind of always led me to believe that it was torque converter is I've gotten used to feeling torque converter shudder, and a lot of times it'll come on in pulses, and so it'll, especially when you're in sixth gear, you know, fifth gear, whatever transmission, and it's trying to lock it when you just tip in or unlock it, and you'll feel it pulse trying to lock. And that's what it was doing. It should have been doing it up this hill. That is incredible. I mean, you guys can watch the NVH software. You know what it looks like whenever it starts to vibrate. Wow. And the engine, that bar graph I have up there for a reason, so you can look at if the engine, one of the engine bar graphs is spiking, but it's not. It would have happened right there. Wow. That's super cool for Evan. And anybody that's having torque converter shudder and they try this, that is some cool stuff. It's 14 bucks. I don't know what it is after tax. It was like, or it was like 13, but I don't know. It was like $12.99 or $13.99, something like that. Man. Now change your fluid though. Don't just dump that in. You need to service your transmission. That's kind of what gets us here. That's incredible. That is incredible. Okay, I'm going to shut this stuff off and then I'll update you guys. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up. Who else was really surprised at what just happened? I did not. I'm so used to snake oil. Everybody's heard that term, where basically they advertise the world and it never delivers. And I've gotten so used to that stuff over the years in the automotive industry that this new product, it revolutionizes something, blah, 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 and it doesn't deliver, and it's gone within a month or so, or within a year, it dies off. And it's a good example was, I remember whenever I was a kid, and it's probably come in cycles, but there was a magnet that you were supposed to put on your fuel line, and that would somehow mess with the molecules in the fuel and would make it, you know, better. Does anybody remember the tornado that you'd put in your intake, and that would create a vortex so you'd have better intake flow and something? I don't know. But it's just stuff like that over the years. There's tons of stuff like that. And so you see this, and it's supposed to fix all shudder. And in this case, it fixed this one. I thought it was not going to. Don't get me wrong, the fluid service, changing out the fluid, it did help. And then the shudder, the Lube Guard, took care of it. That's unbelievable. Super excited for Evan. Now I'm still going to put, I need to get a hold of Evan, update him where we're at, just like I do with customer. I'll let him know where we're at and tell him I want to put some more miles on it before I say, boom, it's done. I'd like to put around 100 miles on this thing, and I'll pay for the fuel. I have no problem with that. Because he's not local to me, I want to spend some time with this just to make sure we're right. Now, we're not exactly done with this. He told me that it has an issue with the AC. You'll have it on low, as cold as it can be, Sometimes it blows cold, sometimes it blows hot. What I experienced was exactly what he said. I remember him saying that one side would blow cold, one side would blow hot. But what I got from it was, even whenever, what was it, the passenger side was blowing cold, the driver's side was blowing hot, but then it has, every time I've been in it lately for the past, I don't know how many times I've driven it, just making this video, it has been hot on both sides. So I need to figure out what that is, but he didn't want me to dive into that just in case the transmission or whatever that noise vibration was going to be expensive. He didn't want me to rack up a big bill and basically it's not worth much because the transmission was, or the rear end or something was going to be real expensive. He didn't want to do that. But now I'd say since we're at this point, I could diagnose that, so we'll have another video on that. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. When I pulled that Lube Guard out, were you like, no, he's just throwing snake oil at it? And truthfully, I was, because at that point, I was feeling like we were going to have to go into the transmission to fix our problem. Now, down the road, could it still be something like that? But, man, it fixed it. Within 2 miles, it was already driving better. That's unbelievable. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully this helps you out. If you're having issues like this, it's something you can do in your driveway on one of these. It's not overly difficult. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this helps somebody out. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.